Hello and welcome, it's me Martin. I've got another video for everyone. Today I'm going to be looking at teaching English as a foreign language in the UK, the pros, the cons, the real experiences and what to expect once you graduate from a CELTA if you want to work in the UK. First things first, the experiences that I'm sharing with everybody today is my experiences, my personal experiences, so it may differ from other teachers and those that are also in the industry, but for me, I'm sharing what I experienced and hopefully this will give you some indication of what to expect. The first thing that people usually talk about is the money, and for me, having taught in a monolingual environment for many years, returning back to the UK to teach was very different to the experience that I experienced abroad. So if you've only taught abroad before but you've never taught in the UK, you will have some reverse culture shock, I expect. With regards to the money, when I was teaching in a monolingual environment, the money, the terms were very favourable. You could earn quite a lot of money per hour teaching either privately or teaching for a language school or institute. Now in the UK there are a lot of English language teachers that have experienced that transition of working abroad and then making that transition back to the UK and teaching back in the UK. The only difference is when you're teaching English as a foreign language, there's a sort of differentiation between the public school, the state sector of actually teaching, and the sort of English language field, that industry. And there's some sort of differentiation between them. If you've taught abroad, you may have had some exposure of teaching in that country's school, that public school or state sector, but when you return back to the UK, you can't expect to just walk into a public school and get a similar job, because the field for English teachers, or for teachers for that matter in the UK, if you want to work for a public school or state school, you need to have particular qualifications. You need to have had 1 year teaching experience before you become a qualified teacher. For the majority that go into the public state sector, they have to go for a PGCE, they have to go and experience different schools, they have to teach for a number of, months, and then post PGCE you have to have 1 year teaching experience for a particular school until you get that QTS status. In the industry of English language teaching in the UK, it is not as fancy or as regulated as that. All that's required for English language teachers in the UK to operate and for schools to open up is some certificate from either the CELTA or the Trinity DipTESOL and a degree, and that's all that's required. However, you're going to be competing with many other teachers that have a degree and also have the CELTA or the Trinity DipTESOL. And when it comes down to a private organisation, the financial side of things is going to be quite competitive, and the school or the institute are more likely to favour teachers that are first in their initial years of teaching, because they can pay a lower salary to someone who's much more experienced or has additional qualifications. And it's just the way the private industry works. However, that's not to say that you shouldn't pursue further qualifications post CELTA or that sort of thing. It's just to be aware that what you may be or what you may have earned abroad may not equate to what you're going to be earning in the UK. So for me, I was quite happy to charge maybe private clients £50–60 per hour for teaching spoken English and developing private students' confidence in communication in English. But when you're going to be teaching and working back in the UK, schools are not going to be paying you £50 per hour. They're going to be more likely, and for me, in this matter, I went from a very lucrative position in South Korea and moving back into the UK with no experience of the English language teaching field in the UK. I didn't know what to expect, but I went to different interviews, and the first thing that I realised was that actually schools are going to put you right down at the bottom of the salary ladder, I guess, if you just have that CELTA and you just have that initial experience abroad. They're not going to have a look at maybe reviewing or putting your salary all the way up. So for me personally, from £50 per hour, from what I was charging, it went straight down to £16 per hour teaching. The thing you need to realise when you're going to be working in the UK is an hour of your time is not the same as the hour that you're going to be teaching. So the hour that you're teaching, say it's £16 per hour, that's in-class teaching. So when you're outside the classroom, maybe preparing for your lesson, or during break times or at lunchtime, you're not going to be paid outside of those in-class hours. So what ends up being maybe an 8-hour day or a 9-hour day with all the prep and all the work that goes alongside English teaching is that you're only going to be teaching for 3 hours usually in the morning and then an hour and a half in the afternoon. So you end up working 4.5 hours, well, teaching 4.5 hours, and the school will pay you for those 4.5 hours, despite the fact that you've been on the premises for 8 hours. And for me, that was the biggest shock when I first came to the UK, that schools will only pay their teachers for the time that they're actually in the classroom, rather than the time that they have spent at the institute. So one thing that you need to be aware of is how language schools will operate and how they will remunerate for your in-class teaching. When you have a look at CELTA qualified teacher working in the UK, and for the morning, so let's say £16.50 for the sake of it, times that by 3 hours, you're looking at £49.50 just for the morning, just for those morning hours. But outside of those 3 hours, you're going to be at the school maybe from 8 AM, classes start at 9 AM, there's a break usually for half an hour at 10:30, and then you're back in the class again for an hour and a half from 11 till 12:30. So what ends up happening is, so 4.5 hours, you're going to get paid £11 for the time you're actually in the school. So £11 per hour. So what looks quite attractive as £16.50, it decreases to actually the amount of time that you spend in the school. So let's say you're earning £16.50 per hour. Let's times that by 4.5 hours, so for the whole day. So that's £74.25 per day, and that's the whole 8 hours, 9 hours that you're going to be there at the school. So let's have a look at the weekly pay. Now, traditionally, my experience was Monday to Thursday was the whole day, and Friday was half a day. I'm going to times £74.25p, times that by 4 days, so the 4 full days that you have. So that's £297. Okay, £49.50 plus 297 is £346.50. Now, you may think, that's not bad. For all the work that you do, it's not a bad salary, I suppose. Now, let's times that by 52. You're going to be earning about £18,000 per year. You know, newly qualified, got a degree, you've got a few years experience abroad, you return back to the UK, £18,000, yeah, it's not bad, you can survive on it. However, this is where things get a bit tricky. Most English language schools operate usually from Easter to the beginning of autumn. So you're only going to be working maybe 6 months. So what happens after those 6 months? Well, those longer serving teachers end up teaching at the school. There's less and less classes made available, and the more experienced, the more qualified teachers end up working for those institutes and those educational providers. What looks like £18,000 initially isn't going to be £18,000 if you're going to be working in the UK teaching English as a foreign language. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be spending half that time, so let's say £9,000, that's what you're going to be earning for the year. And that was the shock for me. So my first year teaching English as a foreign language, and I managed to get a position from February all the way to, I think it was about October. So I was very, very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to teach. However, things did develop and things did improve, but my initial class was, I think it was a test to see how motivated I was to teach, and the Director of Studies decided to give me the hardest class there was to see whether I would sink or swim. I persevered, and more classes were given to me, but I do remember being observed for that class and I just felt nervous, really, really nervous. If you persevere, if you continue in the profession, then things will open up for you. And I did find my niche with young learners. I found it motivating to teach young learners. They were very keen to participate and communicate. When you're going to be involved in the English language teaching field in the UK, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. So salary is the first one. The next one is the sort of classes that you're going to be teaching. Now, the final bit of advice that I have for anyone for that matter, wherever they're based, is to continue their professional development. I found it very difficult to teach in the UK, having returned from a very different environment. However, that gave me the drive and the motivation to try and stretch myself, learn new techniques, and that's when I embarked on pursuing MA in English language teaching. And I would urge anyone to continue, if they're really passionate about English language teaching, to either do an MA or a MA TESOL or EFL or applied linguistics, because that will actually separate you from everybody else who has stopped dead in their professional development. If you don't want to do an MA, if you want to do something a bit more practical or something that stretches you, then you could look at doing a diploma such as a Delta or a, what do they call it, a Trinity DipTESOL. And those two areas will stretch your ability in terms of teaching and in terms of your pedagogy and your awareness of language acquisition. And one thing to mention is, if you do decide to do a Delta, it's recognised by some universities and there's credits that can go towards an MA should you decide to do an MA post Delta. Things can start to open up if you do a Delta or an MA for that matter. Institutes or universities will encourage you to participate in other courses, not just general English courses, but academic English courses, and that's where I find myself in now. And yeah, so that was my experience of English language teaching in the UK, and also the challenges that I had. However, let's finish off on a positive, and the final positive that I've got is that if you do persevere with this profession, not every day will be the same, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I enjoy seeing my students develop and improve their confidence with their English communication, but I also relish in the fact that not every day will be the same, especially in these times during the pandemic. Anyway, I'll see you later. Thanks for listening and take it easy. Bye bye.